is to get people excited. So I think when you're communicating and you're thinking about the purpose of why you're saying what you're saying, you want to make people feel there's an emotion you want them to feel, or there's an action you expect them, a reaction you might want from them. So you need to bring that out. Imagine you're trying to sell something to someone and you're like, yeah, it's magic. Thinking about
Yeah,
the
put
purpose
him away.
of
I mean, if
why you're saying what you don't seem excited about it. So why would they get excited about it? And he sort of brings that out. He seems like he's convinced that this is going to change the world. This is amazing. No one's ever seen anything like it. And I get that from him. That's the energy he brings across. And, look at his hands when he talks about, he's using his hands, he's using his full body to sell you this idea.
That is a great point. Yeah, because we are talking all about the voice today, but effective communication goes beyond the voice. It's also about the body language. Awesome. So now it's time for the big challenge of the day. And the big challenge is, what scares you the most about speaking in public? And what have you been doing to overcome this challenge? Leave us a comment on YouTube if you are watching on YouTube, or send us an email at hello@reallifeglobal.com. We are looking forward to hearing from you. And finally, Cassie, we have here some YouTube comments from that episode that you and I did together about raising bilingual kids. And in that episode, we asked the question, what is the best age to start learning a new language? Could you please read the two comments we have here?
Sure. So American English says, I think that the best age to start learning a new language is when the child starts to speak the first language easily and confidently and starts to understand what the languages are. So I guess in this case, it's about comprehension first, like comprehending the first, having, a full understanding of, the fact that they're learning the language. Okay, that makes it makes sense. I agree with that. And the second comment is from a viewer who says, I think that the best age for learning a second language is from the beginning of the school period, when the child is already learning to find out and use new information. There's rivalry among classmates, and I think that this is the best time to learn a language. If one of the parents knows the necessary second language, then it's possible from an earlier age. Thank you for the video. Oh, thank you so much for your comment.
Thank you guys for leaving us a comment. We really appreciate that. It's so interesting to read them. And just to recap, today we talked all about using your voice when engaging in public speaking of any sort, at any scale. But like we have already said, there's much more about public speaking than the voice. And having said that, we have done some lessons here on the channel where we cover different aspects of communication and public speaking, such as body language, feeling more confident when you speak. So I'm going to leave the link to these lessons in the description here of the video below, in case you want to go ahead and learn some more about effective communication. All right? Guys, thank you so much for listening to us today, to this podcast, and stay tuned to next week's podcast, which is going to be full of rich information as well. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Today we are talking about the importance of writing. Writing is one of those skills that learners might not pay as much attention.
Oh yeah, citizens of the world, this is Ethan from Real Life English, where our mission is to guide you beyond the classroom to live your English in real life, to help you speak confident, natural English, to connect to the world, and to actually use your English as the doorway to living your greatest life. I'm joined here in the Global Studio by whom many learners think of as the epitome of perspicuousness, Thiago. How's it going, Thiago?
Oh my goodness. Hey everybody. Hey Ethan. I'm doing well, but let me just start by asking, what did you say there? Can you repeat that last line? The last part?
Come again? What was that?
Come again? I beg your pardon.
So, epitome, what does it mean if someone's the epitome of something? I think you know this expression, right?
I think about it as the ultimate something, the epitome of something. Is that correct?
Right. It's like you're the prime example of that thing.
All right.
the embodiment of that thing. And then perspicuousness, that's a mouthful even for me. Perspicuousness. Perspicuousness means that you are clear and concise in your communication and easily understandable. So I, in fact, just today saw a comment from a learner. They didn't use this word perspicuous or perspicuousness, but they were saying that you're so clear and easy to understand.
That's great. I appreciate that. And the word is also really cool. Let me try to say that, by the way. Perspicuousness. Perspicuousness. I tend to break down the word when it's a mouthful like that. I tend to break it down like perspicuous and then ness. Perspicuousness, right?
Yeah. And then you can do it like a tongue twister, right? Perspicuousness, perspicuousness, perspicuousness.
Still early in the morning for me. I'm gonna sit this one out.
Today's podcast is all for those of you who feel overwhelmed by the daily hustle and bustle of modern life. Maybe you're feeling stuck in a rat race, like you're trying to get ahead at work and so on, and you're juggling so many things in your life. You just cannot find the time for those things that you truly value.
Ooh, very nice. You can actually use a couple of words there. I would even call them buzzwords, actually, because they're so prominent nowadays. First of all, you mentioned the hustle and bustle of modern life. What is the hustle and bustle of modern life?
Yeah. Hustle and bustle has to do with that you're always moving, you're always doing things, you're always active. And we compare this to the way things used to be. I don't know how long we've had this expression of hustle and bustle. It might be interesting to look up the etymology of this expression. But it has to do with the fact that we're always doing things compared to our ancestors who might have had more of an agricultural life, probably since the, imagine, Industrial Revolution. We're much more in the hustle and bustle, waking up early, going to work. There's a great song from Dolly Parton that talks about this called 9 to 5. So that talks all about that. People can check that out. She's an American legend.
You also mentioned stuck in the rat race.
So if the rat race, it's kind of a similar expression, but I think the rat race has more to do with when you're trying to succeed, you're climbing the ladders in your career, trying to be successful, trying to make more money, this sort of thing. So probably comes from the fact that a race between rats, maybe rats have a reputation for being very ruthless with each other. I think they can even be cannibalistic. I don't know. They don't have a great reputation, right? Rats, in the English language at least.
Yeah.
So, and there was a great movie I remember I loved when I was a kid called Rat Race. That's about, it's a bunch of rich people who force, well, they don't force, but they start this race for people to win a bunch of money. These average middle class Americans.
Yeah. Mr. Bean is in it, right?
Mr. Bean's in it, yeah. He's narcoleptic, someone who can't control falling asleep, right?
Yeah, I love that movie too. I watched it so many times. I was just gonna comment on the expression rat race. When I think about rat race, I think about the day-to-day grind that we all go through and that constant worry about, I gotta progress. I gotta make my money. I gotta get the promotion. I gotta beat that competitor, like that constant worry. Yeah. And you do that for many years, right?
Very perspicuously defined. So today's main question, Thiago and I are both going to share some techniques we find useful to not fall into this trap of the hustle and bustle and to have a little bit more time in the week for those things that we truly value. And so the main question is, what can listeners do if they feel exhausted and like they don't have time? And it can be for English learning, but it can just be for anything else that's important to them. So, Thiago, I'll let you do the honors. You can go first in sharing your tip of the day.
Sure. Yeah. When we talk about being exhausted all the time, I think we mean more mentally exhausted, mental fatigue, and also feeling like you don't have time for anything else in your life. It's so busy as it is. Typical symptoms of burnout, I would say. Maybe we can pull up some other common symptoms of burnout to share with us here, because it's such a common syndrome nowadays. You have that many, especially professionals, are experiencing. So, at least from my experience, every time in my life when I said to myself that I didn't have time for that, I feel like I don't have time for anything. Actually, what I was really saying, I realized, was I don't have time to do the things that matter to me, or to do things that I want to do, or that make me feel good. So my tip today, if you feel like this sometimes, like you don't have time in your day for anything, my tip is find an activity that you love doing that resonates with who you are, that resonates with your spirit, with your identity, and prioritize it, either in your days or weeks. Ideally, you want to do it every day, but if it's not possible to do it every day, set aside some time to do it at least weekly. Just to give a personal
Mm.
example, you guys know that I love music and playing guitar. Music has been a part of my life since I was a kid. My father plays guitar. He taught me the first chords, my first songs. My aunts, they also play and sing. I come from a family of musicians. So um, throughout my whole life, music was always a constant. But a few years ago, I I got into the hustle and bustle of things, and then I started to neglect that side of myself, the music, the playing, the singing. And then I started to prioritize other things like work, and bills, and family. And these are important things for you to prioritize, of course, but you cannot forget about yourself either. Yeah, so I came to the conclusion that um, I needed to change that in my life because by adding that activity back to my routine, that would make me feel better to then withstand, yeah, the challenges of life and the grind of the day-to-day routine. So something that energizes you. Maybe you don't know what it is. So do spend some time trying to identify what activity that might be. Uh, Something that makes you feel good and that resonates with who you are.
Yeah, I love that. I took note of some things actually while you're speaking because this whole topic I find so fascinating is how do we prioritize the things that are truly important to us, or maybe not even things that are truly important to you, because a lot of people do have jobs that are also truly important to them, or obviously time with your kids is truly important to you, but even if you have these things that are valuable in your life, there's other things. There's always other things you want to learn. There's other things that fulfill you. It's not enough just to work and spend your time with family. Especially in modern day, there's so many things we all want to be able to do, right? And of course, we need to prioritize. But it's nice to have outside of those things that fulfill you. Uh, Several years back, I actually read this book called Essentialism, and I believe we've talked about this on the podcast several times, but since I read that book, it became a pet peeve of me every time I hear people say, I don't have time, because it dawned on me after reading that it's just a really weak excuse to give. I don't have time is a really weak excuse, because he repositions this phrase. He gives a scenario that, say you have a kid, and for most parents, it's very easy to say to their kids, sorry, I don't have time to play right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he challenges us to replace I don't have time to it's not a priority. So would you say to your kid, it's not a priority for me to play with you. It's not a priority for me to spend time with you. Like any parent would feel terrible saying that to their kid. But it means the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's just I don't have time is something that we've all accepted as an excuse that you can use an excuse for anything. So when you start replacing I don't have time with it's not a priority, it makes you rethink what are my priorities? Like actually it should be a priority to spend time with my kids. It should be a priority to play with them, to take them to do something special on the weekends and so on. Or it should be a priority for me to play guitar. You know, I feel like I don't have time, but in fact it's a priority. So I need to make some time. I need to find the time for that. I need to prioritize it. And when we look at this word prioritize, it comes from priori, I believe, in Latin, which means the number one thing. It means first. So it's kind of priority literally means the number one thing. What are the things that are most important to your life? You need to make them number one. You need to make it. It's not going to fall in your lap.
I have the same 24 hours in the day.
Exactly.
So I don't have time is a lame excuse, as you said. I just want to go back a little bit because you used a very nice expression there, talking about the book Essentialism. You said, it dawned on me.
So most learners probably know the word dawn is the time of the day when the sun is rising. I'm not sure how these connect exactly, but we say it dawned on me when you have a realization. So the thing that it dawned on me, this thing, the difference between I don't have time, that I don't have time is a bad excuse, dawned on me, I realized that reading this book. And I pretty much have tried to cut that out of my vocabulary. And I'm always very suspicious when I hear other people using this too liberally, because it's just basically that they're not in control of their time. And all of us want to have more control of our time. It's difficult sometimes for all of us, but it's something that all of us want to have more of, is more control of our time.
Awesome. So yeah, that's my recommendation for today. Find that activity that, it feels like time flies when you're doing it. 1 hour feels like 5 minutes. And whenever you feel like you are in a funk or you're feeling a bit weird, like, there's something missing in your life, do that activity and I'm sure you're going to feel better.
What does it mean if you're in a funk?
I like to think about it as if you feel odd, you feel like maybe you are stuck in a rut or there's nothing exciting going on in your life. That's how I view it. How would you define that, by the way?
Yeah, there's a more precise word called lethargy, which is this feeling of, another word you could say is listlessness. Like you don't have, it's like your soul almost is like sad, right? It's like an inner part of you is just not fulfilled. The same way that if you don't eat, or especially if you don't eat healthily, you get sick, right? You don't have energy. And there's things that they say feed our soul, whether or not you're religious, whether or not you believe in having a soul. There's things that fulfill us beyond just the base of our needs, right? Which music is a fantastic example. One other thing I took note of while you were speaking is, I don't know if you ever heard of any lectures from Alan Watts. Was
No.
a really famous professor. I'm not even sure what he was a professor of. I would imagine philosophy. But he has, I believe that the lecture is called Life is Like Music. And he talks about this whole thing. It's kind of criticizing education, but it's more our mindsets in general. That we go through all of our schooling. And I thought about this because you were saying that when you were younger, music really was a priority. You've always had a very musical family. It was an important part of your life. But then, as we like to say, shit got real. You actually started working. You had to make money. You got a family. You have kids to take care of, and so on. You have a lot of other responsibilities. So it becomes all that time that you had before for these things that really fulfill you sort of went away. And now you have to really be organized. You have to be really deliberate with your time to find time for those things that fulfill you. And so, I don't know, maybe we could even share like a short clip from this, and if not, we can just link it in the show notes or down in the comments below if you're on YouTube, because it's a really beautiful lecture. It had a big impact on me, talking all about this idea that we go throughout school, and then, we get to work, and we're treating life like this very serious thing when it's supposed to be something more like music. It's supposed to be something that we play, that we enjoy, that we're present in. It's really beautiful.
What about your tip?
Yes, the tip that I had taken note of, because there's a lot of us that have this feeling of not having time. So I wanted to choose something that you can get a really good bang for your buck. Now this means with a little bit of money or a little bit of effort, you get tremendous results. And this is something called the 5-minute journal. I'm not sure actually who invented this, but there's an official journal that you can buy and everything for this. I don't actually buy that because I think it's quite overpriced and unnecessary, but it is a beautiful journal. If people really like those things, then it can be good for them. We can put a link to that for sure. But I was actually going to open up mine so I can just share the outline of it and the general questions and so on. So I have it here. I do it on my computer, so that's why I have it here at hand. But you do this twice a day, and you need approximately 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. Even less, I think, depending. Maybe sometimes I might be more insightful and take more time, but depending, it might take me 2 minutes, 3 minutes in the morning and the night. So anyone who says that they don't have 2 minutes or in the morning or 2 minutes at night, you're full of it. You're lying to yourself. So the first thing is that, so talking about it in the morning, the first thing that you have to do is write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And you can do big things, of course, like I'm grateful for my health, my family's health, grateful for having a roof over my head, I'm grateful for my job, and so on. These really big things. But it's recommended that you actually choose small things. Small, not so important things. I started pushing more of the little things. I thought I could do some examples. One of the is coffee in my cup. If you want to, you might be just doing this quickly, might be a rush day, but maybe you're having a bit more time, you're feeling more reflective and everything, you can really go on a journey. The coffee in your cup, that's great. The taste of it, you love that, and so on. It gives you energy in the morning, right? But think about, where did that come from? even? What about the coffee beans in Brazil or in Colombia or in Nigeria or wherever those coffee beans were sourced from? Think about all the sunlight, the water, the soil that were required to mature them. Think about the people who were out there working and picking them, processing them, the truck that had to carry it all the way to wherever you live, and the ships and so on, the people who were stocking it in the store. So as you can see, it's like there's a tremendous effort to get a simple cup of coffee, and we just completely take that for granted. It's so easy nowadays to have a cup of coffee in the morning, right?
What is that another way to take something for granted?
Yeah, that's a great expression. I think the whole reason for practicing gratitude, when you take something for granted, you just accept it as it is. You don't show an appreciation for it. You just expect that it's there, it will always be there, and so on. So practicing gratitude is good because it makes us grateful for those little things. It makes us appreciate literally those little things. And they've actually done scientific studies that show that people who practice gratitude tend to be more fulfilled in their life. They tend to be happier. They tend to be more optimistic about things. So this can be, again, it's just a couple minutes a day, and it's going to be powerful. So you do 3 of those. For example, some that I took note of yesterday morning was ChatGPT, because it helped me with a lot of things that we're planning a trip to Peru and so on, and even for finding things in Cusco where we're going for our company summit. It helped me to find things that we can do there. It helps me to plan activities and so on. Thanks. I was grateful for, I started doing yoga in the morning, so I was grateful for free yoga classes on YouTube. So these are a couple of just small things that I took note of. The next thing you do is 3 things that would make today great. So again, this is starting with a positive mindset, and it's also gives you an intention, right? So I found, for example, one thing that I take note of some days is having a powerful or having a strong workout or feeling a lot of energy when I'm at the gym. And then I remember, when I actually go to the gym, it's like, okay, I have this intention for today. Like, let me really pour myself into this moment, make that a reality. And I started doing therapy recently. So like when I had the other day was being open and vulnerable in therapy, and then when I got to therapy, is to reminded me, it's like, okay, you're here for a reason. And then the last thing that you need to do in the morning is a daily affirmation. Now, an affirmation is a phrase that's something you want to remind yourself of about yourself, or something that you are striving or hoping to become more of. So the other morning, for example, I wrote, I am well rested and full of energy. You always write this in the present tense to think of it as if it already were.
Question though, should you repeat the affirmation multiple times or just once?
In this exercise, it's just once. There are people who will write out an affirmation like 5, 10, 15 times, but for the purpose of the 5-minute journal is not necessary. But if someone feels like that helps them to instill it more within themselves, then they can totally do that.
I imagine you say that out loud, right?
You could, yeah. I don't think I usually do that. maybe I quickly believe my affirmations.
But I think that's something powerful, just saying it out loud, to voicing it. Like just your example, right? I'm rested and full of energy. Like externalizing that.
Maybe I have to try that. I know some people will do their affirmations looking in the mirror, like looking at themselves and saying it out loud, and really trying to feel it in that moment. And then at night, there's actually just 2 parts to it. So 3 highlights of the day, 3 things that made your day better. So yesterday I said therapy, because I actually was open and vulnerable at therapy. It went really well. A meeting with one of our colleagues that I had just like a really great meeting with someone on our team, and looking for gifts. We're going to be doing a Secret Santa, even though it's going to be in June. We're going to be doing a Secret Santa when we're in Peru. So I had to go look for that, and that was a highlight of the day. Then the last thing is, what did I learn today? This is good too, because it gets you more, at least for myself, it makes me more intentional about my learning, because I have to remember back to a podcast I listen to or something I read every morning. So thinking back to, okay, what did I read this morning? What did I actually learn from it? And it can help to actually fortify those things in your mind. So again, it's just 3 things in the morning, 2 things at night, and it probably in total takes less than 5 to 10 minutes.
I love how simple the framework is for that type of journaling. A comment about gratitude. You start your day with gratitude. I think you mentioned that people who practice gratitude on a daily basis they feel more fulfilled in life. But I think I have seen research also that even concluded that people live longer. People who practice gratitude daily or frequently, their longevity, they tend to live longer. So that's also something to keep in mind, right? The importance of feeling grateful for the things you have. One thing I like about